Welcome to this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Hope Go. You're listening to Brahms Trio No. 3 in C minor, performed by the Heathcliff Trio, of which Taiwan violinist Ashley Tong is a member. This performance helped secure first place in the 9th International Johann Brahms Chamber Music Competition held in Gdansk, Poland last month. The Taiwan-born Tong joins us this week to talk about her development as a musician.
So I was born in Taiwan, and then I stayed until I was about 15 years old, and that's when I left to go study in London. My family is quite musical. My mom's a pianist, and my older brother is also a violinist. So I kind of just grew up in this environment where I never thought that I could live without music. And growing up, it was always more of a lifestyle. It's like one of the things that I do in my day. Like I read and, I spend time with my family, and then I play my musical instrument. And actually I started on the piano with my mother, and then because my brother was playing the violin and we were very close growing up, and I just always wanted to have more in common with him. So I actually asked my parents to let me play violin as well. So it was just always something that I did for fun, but I was very lucky to have really supportive teachers around me, and that always pushed me to really achieve things that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. So I kind of did the very traditional route of, going to the music schools and attending, master classes and doing all those things that most people are doing as well.
You played with the Taipei Symphony when you were just 8 years old. What did that feel like? Do you remember it at all?
Yeah, actually, it was, of course, that was one of the biggest things I did at the beginning. So I just started playing the violin at 7, and there was this youth competition for young violinists like me, and there were different categories. So it was originally because my brother was also participating in a different category, and I think my dad just thought well, we might as well just put Ashley in as well. I mean, she's only been playing for a year, but you never know. And so I was also very lucky to win that competition, which means that you get to play with the Taipei Symphony Orchestra in the main concert hall in Taipei. And I mean, for me, it was an amazing experience, especially having only played for a year. But yeah, it was really obviously for a child, it's extremely exciting to play in front of such an amazing orchestra and in front of so many people.
Did you have any musicians that you looked up to when you were a child?
I really look up to my brother a lot, in many ways, and having him play the same instrument, it just meant that everything he just played, that's kind of my goal. I wanted to learn all the pieces that he's played. And I think I also really look up to my first violin teacher. He's probably very well known in Taiwan these days also. It was also a very personal thing. It was not just the playing, but, the philosophy of being a musician and your life around it. So I would say it was my teacher and my brother for me growing up when I was in Taiwan.
How much did you give up as far as your life was concerned, and how did you feel about that?
For me, music was always just a lifestyle. I really didn't see it as kind of my ambition for a very long time. It's probably only in the last 10 years really that I started to really feel that it was really my passion. And that's the one thing that I want to, do it with my life. So I think my parents were always quite open-minded in the sense that they really allowed me to just explore whatever it is that I wanted to do with my life. And I just so happened to have many different interests. So actually, I would say as a child, my life was quite well balanced, and we had time to travel, see the world. And of course, not saying that I didn't do any work at all. It wasn't so militant. So actually, it was probably not until I went to study at the Menuhin School, which is a very, very focused on music. That's probably when I started to put more of my hours in the day in practicing and with music.
You said you left at 15. Was there just an end to the amount you could learn here?
For me, playing the violin, my main priority was always, the teacher, your main teacher that you're studying with. And I was always very happy with my teacher in Taiwan. Like I never felt like he wasn't giving me enough. But maybe then when I was about 12, that's when my brother left Taiwan. He left for London first, and just kind of seeing what he is surrounded with, and like it made me more aware of maybe what I'm lacking, like in my musical life in Taiwan. And so it was just like my teacher was just like, well, why don't you just try an audition and see how that might suit you? Like you don't, like even if you get in, you don't necessarily have to go. So for this school, like the Yehudi Menuhin school, part of the audition process is that you have to go and live there for a week, so they can really observe like how you fit in that situation, like on top of your actual audition. And just being there, I just really felt like I really belonged in this little community where that people were just really like-minded, and I just really was very attracted to this whole atmosphere. So that's why like I decided to, you know, just go for it and see what happens.
What did leaving feel like to you? I mean, Taipei is very different from London, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the main thing is like, you know, all the people that were close to me, like my teacher and just my massive support system back home. Like that was difficult, of course, because then suddenly like you're in a new place and you're the new person. You kind of have to establish that all over again, and you know, just not having that safety net and also the comfort zone of how things work. But I also think, well, 15, it was still an age where like you're growing and changing a lot. So I think the excitement really outweighs all of maybe the more negative feelings that I had at the time. And you're just like, you're sort of forced to just get on with your life, and because, you know, that's just like time doesn't stop for you.
Where would you consider as home at this stage?
Well, actually, it's interesting because this is actually a question that I get asked a lot, and I often don't really know how to answer, because, well, I was born in Taiwan, but I also spent a lot of those times like in Austria, and after moving to London, I also lived in Vienna after I finished my studies in London for 5 years, and now I'm here in Copenhagen. And I always just feel like, you know, home is wherever like my life is in the moment. So I'm not sure I can really say like where my home is. Actually, like if I could go into it more, like I would probably say like, you know, like politically speaking, I probably feel like the most Taiwanese, because that's like something that I've been like following since I was very young. And that's something that I have a very strong opinion about. And probably culturally, because of the music, then I would probably feel a little bit more European, since that's where most of my inspiration comes from. And like as my speaking language, like I have always felt the most comfortable in English. And that's because I went to an English kindergarten, and like I've always read like primarily in English, so that's always the language that I feel the most comfortable with. So kind of like there's parts of, you know, everything. Like my life has just given me these little different aspects of my identity, I think.
If you had a chance to return and take a residence here, would you be willing to do that? And what would you do to sort of leave your mark on classical music in Taiwan?
Well, I'm definitely like, you know, I even though I left a very long time ago, but I'm always following, you know, like to see if like what Taiwanese musicians are doing in Taiwan or, you know, outside of Taiwan. And it's really nice to see that, you know, they're just getting more and more of them. And, you know, places I go, and when people ask me where I'm from, and they often, when I say I'm from Taiwan, they often come up with like other Taiwanese musicians that they've heard of. So I definitely think it's really a very promising place. and I've always been very interested in teaching. So, you know, if I ever really go back there, like aside from performing, like I think I would very much like to be able to teach as well.
That was Ashley Tong of Heathcliff Trio. And that does it for this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Hope Go. We leave you now with excerpts of Heathcliff Trio's award-winning performance. Thank you for listening. Catch you again next time.